Hey there, and welcome back to Diaper Free Diaries. I'm your host, Lauren Stamper, and today I have something special for you. A few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of chatting with Bonnie and Renee from the Just Ask Your Mom podcast all about elimination communication. It was such a great conversation, and I shared a bit more of my own EC journey, so I knew I had to bring it here for you all to hear. So if you're new to EC or just curious how it works in real life, this episode is packed with insights, encouragement, and real talk about what it looks like to ditch diapers earlier than the mainstream norm. So let's dive in.
You have questions?
We have answers.
We're two Southern moms on the backside of raising kids.
And we have some things to say.
We've lived life,
Made mistakes.
and learned some lessons.
Join us for answers to the questions you just want to ask your mom.
Hey, welcome to another Just Ask Your Mom podcast. I'm Bonnie Blaylock.
And I'm Renee Sproles.
Well, back in April of 2022, we aired an episode on potty training, which was pretty comprehensive. We thought. We looked at potty training around the world, how it differed from the United States. We told a bit about our own experiences and gave a lot of suggestions for what works. Lots of tips to try if you're a parent in the throes of potty training.
We did. And fast forward to 2025, and there are some growing trends out there in the interwebs. And one of them is called elimination communication. And its advocates demonstrate that parents might start introducing kids to that potty right off the bat. That sounds crazy to me. I can't wait to figure out what they're talking about.
So today our guest is Lauren Stamper, who you might know from her Instagram account at Diaper Free Diaries. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're located, kids, that kind of thing?
Sure. So I am married. I'm a mom of two. One's 2.5. He's totally potty trained. He's out of diapers daytime diapers at 18 months old. I have a, just turned 1 year old, and we're doing elimination communication with him. I'm a certified Go Diaper Free coach. So that basically means I went through a certification process to teach parents how to do elimination communication, even like part-time with their own babies. And also potty training as well. And so on my Instagram page, I share different tips that I share different tips for parents on how to really like ease into it in a super just gentle way and like no stress at all, and just something like different tips that will help. And I also live in the South Louisiana, so we had a very rare snowstorm this past week, and it was really fun. So I think that's a little bit about me.
Okay. So where in the world did you hear about this?
Yeah, so I first heard about it through the podcast, Hey Shayla. And I think there was like 1 or 2 YouTube videos that she did. And I think this was maybe when I was pregnant. And I said, okay, like that seems like something I would do, but I'll kind of, when I feel like I'm ready to kind of like start it, and so I actually didn't start because I didn't know enough about it until my first one. And we found out that it baby number 2. And I like one of my first thoughts was like, how are we going to afford 2 kids in diapers? And because I knew that it was a way to save money. So that was my main reason. And I think I had also read like Hunt, Gather, Parent, and around that time. And so I was like, like this book is kind of really eye-opening in how different cultures approach parenting and how do they like potty train, like how do they approach potty training? And then I'm like, oh, it's exactly kind of what I had heard bits and pieces of, like elimination communication. And so then I read Diaper Free Baby, which is kind of like, all right, inspirational stories. And then I picked up Go Diaper Free. And that's an amazing journey because now I work for them. But I read Go Diaper Free, and it showed me like it showed me like what to expect on like this age, where to start. And so it was really wonderful to be able to be like, okay, my child is 12 months old, so it's not too late because you can start anytime between 0 and 18 months. And then there's also like a free easy start guide that any parent can download for free. Just go to diaperfree.com, start. And then it gives you like the 4 easy catches which are basically after waking, you can offer, so it's like offering the potty to your child. And so it's never forceful. It's always like gentle. It's just an offering. So it's just like, okay, let me offer it to you. You don't have to go. Okay, let's move on with our morning. So the wake ups, poops, diaper changes, and transition times. So we that's kind of the easy catches. And then you also can learn their natural timing. My son was 12 months old. So through this easy start guide, I learned his natural timing after eating was like he peed like 25 minutes after he ate. So I learned that, within a day or two. And I'm like, okay, now I know that he goes 20 minutes after he eats. So I just offer the potty during that time. The trick is to kind of like um, offer before that time, like a minute or two before, because then since it's their natural timing, they're going to go no matter what. So you try to catch it in time. And so within like the first day or two, like I caught a pee and then I caught a poop, and I'm like, I'm on board.
The rest is history.
Success. Yay, success. That's so funny. So the typical American child I read goes through about 6,000 diapers total before being potty trained, with just under half occurring in the first year when the changing derby is really on. So do you use diapers at all? It says go diaper free. So are you saying from the time they're like a month old,
Right.
that's it, we're done?
No, so diaper free and like the Go Diaper Free community, we call it like free from full-time dependence upon diapers. So basically, yes, your child may still wear diapers, and most parents who do elimination communication still use diapers, whether disposable or cloth diapers. But because they're not like using their diaper as a toilet full time, it's kind of like they're free from that full-time dependence, because like babies are born not wanting to soil themselves. And so we kind of like, as we give them that opportunity, over time, they'll learn that like, okay, like if I communicate, even if it's just like the way that my body responds to like the signal that my brain is telling me that my bladder is full and things like that, that my mom will kind of pick up on my signals and then offer me the potty. So yeah, we use diapers. We use cloth diapers at home as often as we can. And then when we're out, we use disposable. So every family does it a little bit differently, but you can use training pants like tiny trainers and undies. That's helpful for learning their like their natural timing without getting pee on the floor. Um, and then diaper free time is always really good too, because like it helps reduce diaper rash. And then also it just kind of gives them that cause and effect feeling of like when I release, I get this like my bladder's full and I release it and then I feel wet, and diapers with away the wetness. And so when they're wearing something other than diapers, then they experience that wetness and they're like, oh, okay, like I don't like feeling wet. And so that's kind of how that works.
So I think what probably holds a lot of moms back is that it sounds daunting to potty train. I know that's what it felt like to me. Like I kind of dreaded that.
Sure.
But I think like in the long run, the sooner that you potty train a child, like the easier it is on you. It's just I don't know. The pain of where you are has to be greater than the pain of thinking of what you have to do. How hard is it to do this kind of system? Because as Bonnie said, over like 50% of the world's children are potty trained by one. Lots of cultures are getting their children potty trained quite a bit younger than ours. So is it a hard sell? Was it or is it in the long run easier?
Well, our culture too, but used to do it this way. We used to have cloth diapers and all that too. So it wasn't until like 1947, I guess. Well, 60% of kids were toilet trained by 18 months. And today the average is somewhere around 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that, Lauren? Because we had disposable diapers introduced.
Yeah. So I would say for the first question about how hard it is, I think that the first step is always the hardest of anything. Especially if you don't know anyone else that does it. I mean, we certainly didn't know any other parent that did it. And we're like, okay, this feels so like weird at first. It's just like he's 12 months old. He like looks so tiny on this big toilet with a seat reducer. But like, so I think the hardest part was just like trying it for the first time. But then kind of like I mentioned, like we caught a pee, you catch is what we call it. Like we catch a pee. And like after that like first catch high, it's like what we say. So it's like, your baby goes in potty. Um, you're like, this works. Like this is amazing. Like this is so easy. Hence the free easy start guide. So I would say like the hardest part is just giving it a shot. And now I will say that the easiest catch to do is after waking, because we like all mammals or all humans have this hormone called the antidiuretic hormone. It basically suppresses our like need to pee at night. So like first thing I ask like parents like when you wake up in the morning, do you have to use the bathroom? Typically everyone says yes. When you're pregnant, it's actually like it's lower or it's weaker, and so that's why you have to pee multiple times at night. But like babies have this too. And so for any parent that wants to do this but feels a little bit intimidated, I definitely recommend like the easy catch of the wake up and pee. And so what you do is like as soon as your baby wakes up and take their diaper off, and then you can like if your baby's like a newborn or up to like maybe like 6 months, you can use this potty called the top hat potty. It's made specifically for young babies, where you support them in a certain position. They're like completely supported, their backs against your chest, and you make a sound association. So you do, and so they start to connect that sound association to the sound, or you can turn on like running water, some relax a little bit. And it's amazing just like how many parents do that for the first time and like this works. Now I will say, because people, parents ask like, well, my baby still has a wet diaper when they wake up. And that's because like, babies will kind of shift during the night during like sleep cycles. Yes, like your baby will typically not hold it all night. But that's because like they wake up, they'll typically pee, and like some parents do nighttime EC, and where they like, okay, so baby wakes up, has to pee first thing. So a mom might like have them pee in the top of potty, maybe while nursing at the same time, and then put the baby back to sleep. So, it's totally optional.
Wow.
So that's the answer to the first question. I think the second question was about uh, the potty training age at 3 years old. Was that right?
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have this chart on my Instagram page. So yeah, Diaper Free Diaries, and it always goes viral because I think a lot of parents don't know this. But yeah, like as you had mentioned, the age of potty training has gone like has just skyrocketed. And one of the main like if you look at the chart and then you see when disposable diapers were invented, the potty training age has risen significantly since then. Um, and now I will say that there was, unfortunately, like a dark period of toilet training where like there were like suppositories being used and there was a strict regimen. And I think that's where yeah, I mean, I always hate sharing it because it's like, oh gosh, like it's such a, yeah, it was a dark period of toilet training. Um, as far as I know, it was only like short lived. So I think it was maybe in the 30s. But I think that's where it's like, Dr. Spock and Dr. Brazelton um, really talked about readiness, to potty training readiness. Now, it started off with being like cognitively and like physically ready. So at that time, it was still around 18 months. But the diaper companies, now I still use diapers, so I don't have like a vendetta against diapers. I just, think that they've kind of taken it a little bit too far, and we've swung to the other side of the pendulum. So I think because parents hear of like, you know, you have to wait till readiness or else you're going to psychologically damage them, like that comes from this short period of time when there was a strict regiment of toilet training where there was, yeah, unfortunately, there was like force feeding and different things like that. But totally different than elimination communication, where it's gentle, it's offering, you're like just slowly implementing it into the routine. So by the time they're walking, they're like, oh, I know this whole routine already. So I can do this thing independently. And some parents actually can skip potty training altogether just because their child already knows the whole routine. They know how to like push down their pants and everything. Um, and so I think that diapers also, I guess, like I said, like wick away the wetness. And so because babies like for the first 3 years or sometimes even 4 years, have used their diaper as a full-time toilet their whole life, then suddenly, we're taught to like introduce the potty. And then that's when you get these power struggles because, these 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, they're like, well, I don't want to do that. Like I've been doing this my whole life. I'm comfortable with this. I don't have to like stop what I'm doing and like go to the bathroom. So that's where a lot of these power struggles come from. If parents are familiar with Montessori, there's a toilet sensitive period between 12 and 18 months where I believe classical Montessori schools actually take children out of diapers during those months and put them into training pants or put them into cotton underwear. They start to understand over time that like, yeah, the cause and effect, and if I release my bladder, I feel wet. And then they kind of start to teach them the steps to like independently do it themselves. So yeah, I would say that like the common stressful potty training that we're kind of familiar with in our society, I think it's definitely a lot to do with the diaper companies telling us like don't rush, just like wait till they're ready, and like child led. Now, child led was something that was originated from Dr. T. Barry Brazelton, who was hired by Pampers. So, I mean, it's really fascinating. Just
No conflict of interest.
learning
None
about.
whatsoever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
To me, it just seems like you got to choose your hard. Like paying for diapers and doing all that changing is hard. And this just takes a little bit of effort, but seems like a lot of payoff.
Yeah.
The thought of taking the diaper off and putting them on the potty. Yeah, that's an extra step I wasn't thinking about. But,
sure.
I think it was the African continent where the moms would put the baby between their knees and squat on the ground and make the little sound like you described. And that's what they all do to teach them how to go potty. And then like when we were in China, the kids walk around with these little onesies that are the crotch opens. They don't wear a diaper.
Yes,
like
yes,
pull the crotch open and they squat
Mhm.
them down. And I was fascinated.
Yep.
I'm like, these kids are potty trained so much sooner.
Because they feel it. They feel the uncomfortableness of it. And
yes.
yeah.
And all their homes are tile or linoleum. And so it's easy cleanup if they have an accident. Carpet's a little bit trickier. But
Right. Yeah. And that's definitely a big thing for parents too, because yeah, we live in a modern society. We have car seats and we have carpet. And so diapers are not, they're a tool, right? And so we call them a backup. And so it's like when we're in the middle of cooking dinner or we need to pick up a sibling from daycare, it's like those are the times when you use a diaper, when you like, you can't, you're driving and you're in rush hour and you can't get your baby and you know that like, okay, my baby's giving a signal, but there's nothing I can do. And so, I'll just change you as soon as I can when I get home. And so yeah, the tiny chaps, there's Go Diaper Free has like a sister store of great elimination communication gear that helps a lot. And so she actually, Andrea Olson, the owner, she sells tiny chaps. So a ton of parents are always so interested in them. And they're super cute too. So
how can you tell if your tiny little baby, your 2-month-old, needs to go to the bathroom?
Great question. So it definitely varies. I have on my highlights, I actually have the first month to like the 9th month. I'm like, okay, this is a day. I'm gonna figure out my baby signals today. And so I think I have a video, maybe when he's 2 months old, and he's like wiggling and he's like on the play mat and he's kind of like moving his legs and moving his arms. And suddenly he just like stops and gets really still. And then he starts like peeing. And I'm like, okay, that is a signal for me that I can take him next time. So if I notice he's playing, and then suddenly he just like gets really still, that is one of my baby signals at 2 months old. Now, sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's like stillness to like hyperactivity or just like kind of being really active. Crying. Crying is also one. That's part of the reason that babies cry a lot when they're younger is, like I mentioned, like they're born not wanting to soil themselves. And so we kind of just train them to, but a lot of the times they're actually saying like, I really need to go pee, but I don't want to go in my diaper. So like, mom, help me, or dad, help me. Especially if there's any parents out there that baby wear. A huge like baby wearing is great for elimination communication because they signal really strongly in a carrier. And so you might have them kind of in a wrapper carrier, and they might be like super peaceful and not really like moving. And then all of a sudden they'll start like arching their back. And that's because they don't want to like pee on you or themselves. I can attest to this, not from my babies, but I share this story on my Instagram. But when I was like 5 years old, I was holding a cat, like a kitten. Like I think I really wanted a kitten. We were at my cousin's farm, and I was like holding a cat, and the kitten was like, calm and peaceful, and then suddenly wanted to get out of my arms. But like, I'm like, no, 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 stay with me, stay with me. And the cat actually like pushed away from me and like peed a little bit on my shirt. And like at 5 years old, I kind of was like, oh, like it's kind of embarrassing, let me like rinse my shirt. I thought of this like, 25 years later here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like babies do the same thing. So they'll start wiggling if you're holding them and they're fine, but then they really like they need to pee, but they really want to get out of your arms or like have you offer them the potty. I think there are manuals in the 1950s. It's called like holding out. So there's I think there's different like pamphlets that have a mother holding her like baby like on a little chamber pot, and they used to call it holding out. I just thought of that, but yeah. And so that's so as far as signals go, there's different ones. Now some babies over time will tell you in like really obvious ways. So like they might like crawl to the toilet and start like banging on the toilet, or they'll like if you have a mini potty, they'll kind of just like look, pick up the mini potty and like look at you. Now like my baby will sometimes, my 1 year old will sometimes do the sign of potty. He's starting to really do signs, and then he will also do all done when we offer him the potty, and then he goes and we're like, okay, all done, and then he'll say like all done.
They know and understand so much more, and we're all on board with the signing communication thing. And your sign for potty is
Yes.
like your thumb in between your first and second finger, like a I've got your nose kind of a
Yeah.
symbol. And your
That's right. That's right.
but so your 1 year old can do that and tell you that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's funny. Thank you for reminding me that we're this is audio. So as I'm signing, I'm forgetting that people are just listening. But yes, that is he will do that. Now signs will sometimes come and go. So you might have a baby that will show you the same sign for a while or signal. I know that sometimes he'll actually like look at me and I'm like, I think you need to go potty. Let's go. And so he would sign to me for a little while and then it stopped. But usually during those times, they're working on a developmental task. So right now, like he's starting to take a couple steps thing. And so they're not focused on things that they've been doing for a couple weeks just because they're working on like a big task, like walking, crawling, rolling. And you might actually like sometimes might get resistance during this time as well. And so they might be like, okay, like we've been doing great. And like we've been using the potty for a couple of weeks, but like now she wants nothing to do with the potty. Like she'll kind of arch her back. And we went through this when my son was like between like 7 and 9 months old. And I know he was working on crawling. And so I'm like, okay, like I'm just gonna offer, but if you're not interested, we're just gonna try again later.
Okay, so what if you're not I'm listening to you describe this and you are being a very keen observer. You're not, you seem undistracted and able to observe the smallest cues. And what if you're not, well, maybe you have more than one small child, which makes everything more difficult. Or
Sure.
maybe you are not with your child 24 hours a day. Are other people willing to do this typically? Or is it just, yeah, we're going to not require that of others and I'm just going to try it myself?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Definitely a common question I get too. If parents even do this once a week, to say both parents work full time, they can only do this on the weekends. I think there was one parent in my Instagram comment saying like, I'm so glad that you mentioned that we can start with once a week, ease into it, see what fits in our schedule. And she's like, that's what, like now we're doing it more, but it seemed a lot less daunting. And also, I think a lot of people would be surprised with, let's say, how little I do it. But I think I would say that generally, I offer when he wakes up, after he wakes up from nighttime, it's morning, and then I would say naps too. So that's offering 3 times a day. And then I try to catch poops as well. And now poops, there's generally like a sign, he'll give me like the poop face. And I think a lot of parents kind of know their child's poop face.
Yep.
Sometimes they have stealth poopers. But yeah, I mean, I'm super good. Like I have 2 kids. I work 5 to 10 hours a week on social media, and then I also kind of do a side gig. So it's like, I know I'm not going to catch every single pee, but that's for the diaper. That's what the diaper is for. And so it's there to kind of catch what I miss. It's not like all or nothing. And yeah, so I think it's very it's just however you can work it into your schedule. And I think that the way that it works too, it's like if you're familiar with baby led weaning, it's like an exposure technique. So the first year of life, it's like, okay, food before 1 is just for fun. So you can think of it the same way, the same perspective as like, even if you offer and there you go, and then maybe you decide it's not for you, your baby was still exposed to something where they're not waiting 3 years to be exposed to it. So it's not just kind of like thrust upon them of like out of the blue and like this big, to them it's like this like big tall thing and it's cold and it's like scary, it's loud. Think of it as like an exposure technique where it's like they're familiar with it.
Love that perspective.
Yeah, it seems so
Common sense.
common sense when you put it that way.
Mhm.
Truly.
Yeah,
Potty
thank you.
before 1 is just for fun.
Potty before 1 is just for fun. That's right.
Yeah, that is perfect. No, exactly.
All right. Well, come clean, Lauren. Are you just one of those crunchy moms? Do you also have a sourdough starter and can all your food somewhere?
Oh, that's so funny. Currently I don't have a sourdough starter, although I used to.
I knew it. We knew it.
I know. Yeah. It's funny. Like I think it was an article, at least because I've been going through different scientific studies on EC, and then also potty training too, kind of like debunking a lot of common myths that we know, putting them on my YouTube channel. But one interesting study I read about was like the typical kind of like, let's say EC family, but like the parents that practice EC, it's not just like crunchy moms. I guess I would consider myself kind of crunchy, but it was like, some are working parents, some are, wouldn't consider themselves crunchy, but they're like, we're doing this because maybe we don't have as much access to diapers or like, for different reasons. So yeah, like parents of all different backgrounds do it for different reasons. Dignity is a big part. Like I want to be able to give my child dignity. I want to reduce or avoid diaper rash. I want to be out of diapers sooner, give my child independence and self-esteem, confidence, deepen connection. That's a big one. Like a lot of parents that do EC, they find that they have a really deep connection with their baby because they understand their cries and their needs and kind of their different movements and just needs a little bit differently than we're kind of exposed to or taught to. And so yeah, I would say that yeah, I mean crunchy moms definitely still do it, but there's also like a larger kind of demographic too, which is great. And I love it.
What is the average age of success for this EC method?
I would say, okay, I was actually reading an article on Diaper Free between, I think as early as 6 months. Now, potty trained different than elimination communication. So the author of Diaper Free, she has 6 kids, all EC'd from birth. And I think the earliest she took her child out of diapers, one of her children was 9 months. I think the latest was 17 months. If you do elimination communication full time and you're kind of just like in sync with your baby, like if they're basically going like the whole day and like the whole night without using disposable diapers, I'm like, why not put them into underwear? Because it's like, well, we don't need to spend money on these anymore. So yeah, I would say, I think around walking, I would say is a pretty common time that EC parents take their children out of diapers.
It's
Once
interesting
they
you mentioned
master walking, you can do that. Yeah.
walking too, because I think I saw one of your reels where I mean, that big, it's like walking with pillows in between your legs, right? It interferes with motor, with a child learning to walk. It's kind
With
of
that
throws
big
their,
bulky
their
diapers.
balance off a little bit.
Mhm.
So
Right,
it makes sense to have them sort of try to be done with it, or at least be in maybe your little tiny tot underwear by then, so they can have freer movement.
right, right. And my grandmother is 93 years old, and I asked her a lot of questions about potty training. And she did say that by like 1.5, maybe she said 1.5. She said my children were all pretty well trained. And part of the reason she said that, you put them in baby underwear and they catch on pretty quick. Again, like that sensitive period for toilet learning between 12 and 18 months. But yeah, they'll start to learn that cause and effect. Yeah, it's amazing. Like babies are much more like capable than we might think.
Well,
That's wild.
this has been very interesting.
Yeah, new information for me,
Yeah.
for sure. And
I think it's cool that there's a
Great.
wave of people doing this now.
I do too. Why not? I don't think it can hurt anything.
Absolutely.
So why not?
Right.
Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. And yeah, it was great to chat with y'all and just share more information about this. I think the biggest thing is awareness. I think so many people don't know about this. I mean, the diaper companies certainly don't want us to know about this, but I love that it's really catching on and becoming like almost like a underground or like hinge movement. Yeah, I love teaching it. So
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for being on, and tell us your website one more time.
sure. Diaper Free Diaries. I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.
Awesome. Okay, that's where you can find her. We're gonna have these
Links and resources and all that.
We're going to have that on our website at justaskyourmom.com. And if you will take 5 seconds to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you listen to us and share us with your friends and family, we would love that.
And send us those topic suggestions to justaskyourmompodcast@gmail.com. And we'll see you next time on Just Ask Your Mom.
That was such a fun conversation. I hope you found it encouraging and maybe even a little eye-opening when it comes to EC. If today's episode got you excited to start or continue your own elimination communication journey, I highly recommend grabbing a copy of Go Diaper Free. It's truly the best resource out there for learning step-by-step how to practice EC with confidence. And as a special thank you for listening, you can get 15% off your copy with the code STAMPER at checkout. That's STAM as in mom, PER. Thanks so much for tuning in to Diaper Free Diaries. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who might find it helpful. Until next time, happy pottying.